associated with the previous administration, including my family, while sparing those aligned with his political agenda from similar scrutiny. For example, my brother George Filomeno dos Santos was prosecuted and sentenced for financial crimes, while others with equally serious allegations, such as Manuel Vicente and Carlos Antonino, remain largely unscarred. This selective prosecution is a clear indicator of a politically motivated campaign rather than a genuine pursuit of justice. Furthermore, the administrative anti-corrupt efforts have been inconsistent and lack transparency. Several investigations have been halted without explanation, suggesting that the campaign is being used more as a tool for political gain rather than a genuine effort to root out corruption. Angola is currently grappling with significant economic challenges, including declining oil revenues, inflation, and high unemployment. In this context, it appears that the administration is using high-profile cases like mine as a diversion tactic to shift public attention away from its own failures in addressing these pressing issues. The judicial reforms introduced under President Lorenzo has centralized power and undermined judicial independence. International observers and human rights organizations have raised concerns about the fairness and impartiality of these reforms. The use of state-controlled media to propagate the administration's narrative while discrediting opponents further demonstrate that the case against me is driven by political motives rather than factual evidence. I urge you to consider the significant contributions of my businesses have made to the Angolan economy. We have created thousands of jobs and have been at the forefront of driving innovation and development in our country. My commitment to Angola's progress is unwavering, and I'll continue to work towards the betterment of our nation. In closing, I reiterate my innocence and call for a fair and impartial view of the evidence, free from political interference. Let us ensure that justice prevails and that the truth is brought to light. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Isabel, for your submission. That has been clearly recorded, and we are going to invite the President of the Republic of Angola to make his statement. The President, please unmute and make your statement. Do we have the President present or a representative of the President? Okay, if the President is not present, then we will proceed to listen from the consultants who have been participating in businesses with Isabel dos Santos. We will hear from Kevin Snyder, who is the former global managing partner of McKinsey. Please unmute and make your statement.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. So my name is Kevin Snyder. I was a former global managing partner to McKinsey & Co. So as it stands now, we have been made notice or made aware of the ongoing allegation against Ms. Isabel dos Santos. However, we want to state clearly that our dealings or our engagement with Ms. Isabel was strictly professional, in the sense that our company is a management consulting firm. And so the scope of our duties relate to giving financial advice, giving management advice, and so on. But to delve into details of her engagements, we do not have any knowledge or notice of that. From when you look at our website, some of our values state that it is our duty to preserve client confidence, put the interest of our clients ahead of us, maintain an independent perspective, manage clients resources effectively, improve on our clients' performance significantly in their businesses, and also to use our global network to enhance business success. And that is what we have done throughout the period of our engagement with Ms. Isabel and her businesses. Now, we would like to state clearly that the detailed dealings regarding the cases of allegation of corruption, we were not aware. Cases of nepotism that have been cited, we were not aware. Our business, being an international business, sees the equity or sees the inequitable nature in the world, in the sense that Africans are not, or African entrepreneurs are not offered the same opportunities on the international scale as whites or Europeans. And so it was our interest to help harness African entrepreneurs for them to have success in their business. So our intention was not to deal with, any illegalities, but our intent was to help an African businesswoman develop her business very well, to be able to compete with other people from other races across the world. We would also like to state that as a financial consultant, we only give advice, we suggest, we make recommendations, but the final decisions always often lie with our clients. And we stand by the fact that we have not done anything wrong. We have not stepped out of line of our duty. If you look at some of our alliances and some of our partnership, we have worked with Google Cloud, we have worked with Microsoft, we have worked with Salesforce, AWS, Amazon, etc. And so we, in closing, we do not take responsibility for corruption allegations or nepotisms cited against Ms. Isabel. We were a business consultant firm, and we did the best of jobs. As it is being alleged that it is obvious or visible that she had made a lot of significant gains since she started business with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kevin, for your statement. That has also been recorded. Mr. Bob Motiz, chairman of the PwC International Network, submitted his absence. I would love to ask the House if there is anyone who has been delegated to present the statement of Mr. Bob. Is there anyone who is here to represent Mr. Bob Motiz? If not, then we will proceed to listen from Gabriela Figueiredo Diaz, who is the chairman of Portugal's Comissão de Mercado de Valores Mobiliários, Portuguese Securities Market Commission in short. Please step forth and make your statement.
Good morning. I am Gabriela Figueiredo Diaz, and I'm here to make my statement. Esteemed colleagues and participants, as the chairman of Portugal's Comissão do Mercado de Valores, CMV, I stand before you today to address this significant issue of financial misconduct and corruption involving Ms. Isabel dos Santos and her extensive network of companies. The Luanda Leaks investigation has unveiled a troubling network of over 400 shell companies and subsidiaries in more than 40 countries, including Portugal. This network, facilitated by Dos Santos and her associates, has engaged in numerous illegal activities, such as money laundering, embezzlement, and forgery of several documents. Portugal has a responsibility to ensure that our financial systems are not involved in these crimes, and we must denounce and hold accountable any company that has partnered with Dos Santos and her associates. Furthermore, we call for the criminal prosecution of Dos Santos, partners alongside Dos Santos herself. Our commission is committed to fighting illegal dealings such as money laundering, and we will work closely with Angolan authorities, particularly Attorney General Elder Peter Gross, to ensure justice is served. The integrity of our financial markets and the trust of our citizens depend on our ability to act decisively against corruption. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Diaz, for your submission. Next, we are going to hear from Angelo Gabriel dos Santos.
Hello, everyone. This is Justin speaking as Angelo Gabriel dos Santos. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges and fellow participants, I am Angelo Gabriel dos Santos Papario, Chairman of Senecom, a leading Portuguese telecommunications company. We appreciate the opportunity to participate in this important discussion. Now, Senecom has a long and distinguished history of operating in Africa, including Angola. Over the years, we've established numerous partnerships that have benefited both our company and the Angolan economy. At Senecom, ethical conduct is paramount. We invest significant resources exceeding 10 million euros annually on compliance programs and legal due diligence to ensure all our dealings adhere to the highest international standards. Now, regarding the Luanda leaks, the Luanda Leaks investigation has raised serious concerns about corruption in Angola. We understand the public's desire for accountability, and Senecom fully supports a fair and transparent investigation by the Angolan authorities. We are committed to cooperating fully with any inquiries and providing any relevant information. Let me be clear. Senecom entered into all partnerships with companies linked to Ms. Isabel Dos Santos through legitimate and legal channels. These partnerships were established after thorough due diligence confirmed their compliance with Angolan and international regulations. We have a robust due diligence program in place, including extensive background checks, financial audits, and legal consultations. To avoid any association with illicit activities, our relationship with Ms. Isabel Dos Santos and her associated entities has always been conducted with strict adherence to legal standards. All transactions were meticulously reviewed to ensure compliance with both Angolan and Portuguese regulations. So we will not interfere with the ongoing legal processes. Now, we believe a prolonged or politically motivated investigation could have unintended consequences. Foreign investors like Senecom rely on stability and the rule of law. A protracted investigation could damage investor confidence, potentially hindering economic growth and job creation in Angola. The potential consequences for Angolan citizens if Dos Santos' family is found guilty could be profound. Economic instability and loss of investor confidence may ensue, which could hinder the nation's development and prosperity. Therefore, we urge all parties involved to work together to ensure a swift and fair resolution to this matter. To conclude, Senecom remains committed to being a responsible business partner in Angola. We believe transparency, cooperation, and upholding the rule of law are essential for a thriving Angolan economy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your submission. This has been clearly noted. And going forward, we are going to hear from the representative of the International Consortium for Investigative Journalists who are present with us in this session. And we are going to hear from Douglas Dalby.
Thank you so much. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, members of this court, I am Douglas Dalby, a representative, in fact, senior representative reporter from, just a moment. Am I audible though?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Douglas.
All right. Yeah, like I've mentioned earlier on, I am Douglas Dalbe, a senior investigative reporter from the ICIJ, and I am here to present. I'm here to present a statement on behalf of the ICIJ. As we set in this court today, we are confronted today with a case of monumental significance, which stacks illustration of state-sponsored corruption that extends its tentacles far beyond national borders, where the focus of our scrutiny is Isabel dos Santos, who has just made her statements prior, who ascended to the helm of Angola State Oil Company, Sonangol, in 2016, courtesy of her father, José Eduardo dos Santos, the then president of Angola. Isabel dos Santos' tenure at Sonangol was marked by a series of illicit activities, emblematic of a larger pattern of corruption that plagues not only Angola, but also the global corporate and political arenas. Her alleged crimes include large-scale money laundering, the misappropriation of public funds, and the diversion of resources meant for national development into private hands. Your Honor, the scale of the corruption became apparent when the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists received over 715,000 documents through the Platform to Protect Whistleblowers in Africa. These documents were meticulously reviewed, revealing a complex web of fraudulent transactions and concealed financial dealings implicating Mrs. Isabel dos Santos. Our investigation did not stop there, Your Honor. We conducted extensive fieldwork in Angola, interviewing key stakeholders, examining confidential audits, scrutinizing ethics codes, and reviewing real estate records and invoices from Sonangol. This comprehensive approach has unveiled a deep-seated corruption network that transcends mere speculation, Your Honor, and the ICIJ's involvement in this case was driven by a commitment to uncovering the truth and holding those in power accountable. We therefore recognize that corruption of this magnitude undermines trust in institutions, it devastates the Angolan economy and economies, and perpetuates inequality. Our goal is therefore to not merely present allegations, but to advocate for justice and transparency in a situation where the evidence overwhelmingly points to misconduct. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Douglas Dalby, for that powerful statement. I'm also honored to announce that the president is back with us, and I'll invite the President of the Republic of Angola to make his statement.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to address this esteemed court. Today we stand at a pivotal moment in Angola's history, a moment that requires clarity, resolve, and an unwavering commitment to justice and accountability. The prosecution of Isabel dos Santos and members of the Dos Santos family is not a witch hunt. It is a necessary step towards rectifying years of systemic corruption that has drained our nation's resources and stunted our development. This action is not about personal vendettas. It is about restoring the rule of law and ensuring that no individual, regardless of their status, is above the law. Your Honor, under my administration, we are committed to making Angola better for all its citizens. This means implementing reforms that foster transparency, accountability, and good governance. We have already begun the journey by strengthening our institutions, improving public financial management, and ensuring that those who have engaged in corrupt practices are held accountable. Our fight against corruption is not just about addressing past wrongs, it is about building a future where our children can thrive in a fair and just society. We are creating an environment where businesses can cooperate transparently, where foreign investors can trust in the stability and integrity of our market, and where every Angolan can benefit from the wealth of our nation. Accountability is the cornerstone of my administration. We will continue to pursue all those who have betrayed the trust of the Angolan people, irrespective of their rank or relation. By doing so, we are laying the foundation for a new Angola, an Angola that stands as a beacon of integrity, prosperity, and hope. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your submission. And we are very honored to see you here today with us for the sake of Angola. All key statements have now been made, and we are going to open the floor to the main plenary session for questions to be asked and for those who are asked to respond. And we will start with listening to the voice of the Angolan people. We do encourage the people of Angola and their representatives to know and acknowledge that the justice system is firm in the fair representation of all its people. And with us here, we have Yulia Pinto, who is also representing the people of Angola. Yulia Pinto, please go ahead and unmute and make your submission.
Thank you very much. Fellow Angolans, my name is Yulia Pinto, and I stand before you today to talk about something crucial to our nation's future: foreign investments. The recent Luanda leaks exposed some troubling truths about how certain foreign businesses have conducted themselves in our country. Let me be clear, corruption is unacceptable, and those who have broken the law must be held accountable. However, we cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. While some foreign businesses have acted improperly, others, like the Sonicom Group, have been and continue to be valuable partners in Angola's developments. Think about it. The very mobile phones many of us use to read these stories are connected through Sones Group's subsidiary, Sonicom. This reliable network wouldn't exist without foreign expertise and investments. The truth is that Angola faces enormous development challenges. Climate change threatens our coastlines and agricultural outputs. Our infrastructure needs significant upgrades to connect people and resources. And there's also educational inequality. To overcome these hurdles, we need the best minds and technologies available. Often, that means partnering with foreign businesses. They bring not just capital, but crucial skills and expertise. They can help us build our seawalls to resist rising tides, develop drought-resistant crops, and construct modern transportation networks. This knowledge transfer would empower Angolans to become more self-sufficient in the long run. Of course, we must be vigilant, and we need clear regulations and strong enforcement to ensure foreign businesses operate ethically and transparently. But let's not paint all foreign investors with the same brush. Instead, let's create an environment where responsible foreign businesses feel welcome. Let's incentivize sustainable practices and technology transfer. By leveraging foreign businesses, their expertise alongside Angolan talent, we can build a more prosperous and resilient future for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yulia Pinto, for speaking for the people of Angola. Is Felipe da Silva in the house? Felipe da Silva is not with us, and so we will move and listen from another Angolan citizen, Emilia Nunes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, today we stand at a crucial juncture in Angola's history. We are here to address the matter known as the Luanda leaks, a case that has changed the very foundation of our country and brought to light the corruption that has plagued Angola for decades. My name is Emilia Nunes, and I stand before you as an Angolan citizen and a representative of millions of my fellow countrymen who demand justice, accountability, and a brighter future for our beloved nation. The Luanda leaks revelation have exposed a staggering web of deceit, embezzlement, and unethical practices orchestrated by some of the highest ranking officials and business elite in our country. At the center of this scandal is Isabel dos Santos, the daughter of our former president. Through a complex of networks of offshore companies, shell corporations, and dubious financial transactions, billions of dollars have been drained out of Angola, money that rightfully belongs to the Angolan people. These funds, intended for public services, infrastructure, education, and healthcare, were instead diverted into private accounts, luxurious lifestyles, and investments abroad. The impact of this grand-scale corruption is felt deeply by every Angolan citizen. Our schools are underfunded, our hospitals lack basic supplies, and our roads remain in disrepair. The suffering and hardship endured by our people are direct consequences of the systematic theft. And with suffering, you can think of millions of families starving and no sufficient places to sleep. As we delve into the evidence, it will become undeniably clear that the actions of those implicated in the Luanda leaks have not only violated the trust of the Angolan people, but have also hindered the progress and development of our nation. This case is not about punishing the guilty, it is about reclaiming our nation's future. It is about sending a powerful message that corruption will no longer be tolerated in Angola. It is about ensuring that those who have exploited their positions of power for personal gain are held accountable. And most importantly, it is about restoring the hope and faith of the Angolan people in their government and institutions. As an Angolan citizen, I urge this court to consider the gravity of this case, the depth of the betrayal endured by the people, and the urgent need for justice. Let us seize this opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to transparency, integrity, and the rule of law. Let us work together to build a new Angola, an Angola where public officials serve the people, where resources are used for the common good, and where every citizen can aspire to be a better future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your submission and for speaking so passionately for the people of Angola. We'll hear from another citizen, Sandra Lopez. Sandra Lopez, are you there? Okay, if Sandra Lopez is not ready, we'll hear from Luisa da Costa. Luisa da Costa, are you there? If you're speaking, you're still muted, Miss Luisa.
Yes, good evening. Am
Yes,
I
Luisa,
audible?
please go ahead. Yes, you
Yes.
are. Go ahead, Luisa.
As Luisa da Costa, citizen of Angola, I will not talk much since enough has been said, but as citizens of Angola, we believe the cases of corruption that has been visible, that everyone has seen, and we say enough is enough. I stand with a big voice from the people, representing all the people of Angola, and we say, we are going to look forward to justice, and we make sure that what belongs to us as the citizens of Angola shall be regained. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luisa. I see Sandra Lopez is back. Sandra Lopez, please go ahead and submit.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the panel, my name is Sandra Lopez, and I stand before you today to give voice to the countless Angolan citizens who have been deeply affected by the corruption and misconduct exposed in the Luanda leaks investigation. As a victim, I aim to shed light on the profound impact these actions have had on our lives. The London Leaks scandal revealed a staggering misuse of public funds, which were diverted into the pockets of a privileged few instead of being used for the development and welfare of Angola. This has resulted in resources meant in economic hardship, resources meant for vital public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure were embezzled. This has left our hospitals under-resourced, our schools underfunded, and our infrastructure in despair, causing untold suffering and hardship for ordinary Angolans. Secondly, social inequality. The corruption had widened the gap between the wealthy elite and the rest of the population. While a small group amassed immense wealth, the majority of Angolans have struggled with poverty and lack of opportunities, leading to widespread disenchantment and social unrest. Let me share with you some personal stories that illustrate the human cost of this corruption. Maria, a mother of 3, lost her youngest child to a preventable disease because the local clinic lacked essential medicines and equipment. The funds that could have saved her child's life were misappropriated. And Zhao, a bright young student who was forced to drop out of school because his parents could no longer afford the fees, the money that should have supported his education was instead siphoned off into offshore accounts. These stories are just a glimpse of the widespread suffering caused by this corruption, affecting families, communities, and the very fabric of our society. In conclusion, it is crucial that justice be served for the victims of this scandal. Those responsible for embezzling public funds and betraying the trust of the Angolan people must be held accountable. Moreover, we need to implement robust anti-corruption measures to ensure such injustice never occur again. By addressing these issues, we can begin to restore faith in our institutions and build a future where every Angolan has access to the resources and opportunities they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sandra. And then we will hear from Susanna Gonaves.
Thank you very much. My name is Susanna, and I lend my voice to every citizen that has spoken. As we sit here to look at this case, we need to remember that this is not a case about one person or a series of financial transactions that took place. It is about justice for a nation that has been robbed of its future. It is about the children who go to bed hungry, the parents who cannot afford to send their children to school, and the patients who die in understaffed and under-resourced hospitals. The money that was funneled out of Angola could have transformed our country, providing essential services and opportunities for millions. As we sit here to discuss this case, I want us to remember the faces of those who have suffered the most. Let us think of the farmers in the countryside struggling every day to make ends meet, of the young graduates who are unable to find work, and the elderly who have given their all for a country that has not given back to them. These are the real victims of corruption, and it is for them that we stand here and we seek justice today. So in this court, we have the power to send a strong message that corruption will not go unpunished and that we will not tolerate impunity in our nation. We have the opportunity to set a precedent that will resonate far beyond Angola's borders for Africa as a whole, inspiring other nations to stand up against corruption and fight for justice. So this is really a fight about justice for the Angolan people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your submission and for speaking so strongly and adding your voice to that of the multiple Angolans in the House and back at home. So we are going to use the next 10 minutes for questions to the different parties in the room. And the questions are going to come from different parties. So for any party that has a question for any party in the room, kindly raise your hand and you will be granted the opportunity to ask your question as we proceed with this hearing. Yes, there are two hands up. We will start with Isabel Dos Santos.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, so I have heard and listened to all the submissions provided by all the members of the House, citizens, and other consultants groups. But I would also want to state that all my business dealings have been conducted with full transparency and in strict compliance with both Angolan and international laws. My companies undergo regular independent audits by international recognized firms like PwC, Deloitte, McKinsey, Ernst & Young, which have consistently found no evidence of illegal activities, including money laundering. We strictly adhere to international financial regulations, including anti-money laundering and know your customer standards, ensuring that all transactions are transparent and above board. So now, listening to the representative from ICIJ, I noted that they said they had evidences of 715,000 against me. So to ICIJ, can you provide specific details on how the investigation into my business dealing were conducted, and were there any independent bodies involved to ensure impartiality? Also, I would like to ask our able President Lorenzo, given your administration's stated commitment to transparency and anti-corruption, can you provide specific examples of high-profile cases involving your allies that have been pursued with the same rigor as those against the Dos Santos families? Also, how do you reconcile the accusations against me with the significant economic contributions my businesses have made to Angola in respect to how currently your administration is facing issues of economic situations where you are trying to divert the attention to my businesses as a way of witch hunt, which you clearly said it wasn't a witch hunt, but how do you speak to that evidence? So I would want to hear from ICIJ and from President Lorenzo. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Isabel Dos Santos, for your questions. The two individuals asked will also have time to respond. So the President, with your team, I believe you have your response being prepared, and also from the team from from the ICIJ, you're also working on your rebuttals. That is courtesy of Douglas Dalby. And there was a question coming in from Will Fitzgibbon.
Yes, thank you very much. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Will Fitzgibbon, a journalist with the ICIJ. Following the powerful submission by my colleague Douglas, I want to reiterate that ICIJ's primary motivation in this is to bring light to areas with darkness, as there can be no liberty for the people of Angola, which lacks the information by which they can use to detect lies. So I have 3 questions for 3 different parties on this in this case. And the first goes to Ms. Isabel Dos Santos. As you've categorically stated that the allegations are baseless, can you explain the purpose of the numerous offshore shell companies you established during your father's presidency? And the documents we have, over 715,000, showing that your business activities diverted public funds from essential services for the Angolan people. And it is also very important to note that we received these documents through the platform of the to protect whistleblowers in Africa. So the documents did not directly come from us. And even in the course of our investigation, we went down to Angola and spoke to numerous people who had worked with Ms. Isabel Dos Santos during our tenure in this Angola oil. So, and then the next question goes to the representative of McKinsey. You said that you are meant to maintain independence, but as an organization, you're expected to conduct or to a greater extent, at least be aware of due diligence methods to ensure that the work that you're doing does not aid corruption or illegal activity. As such, are you denying that you're aware of the potential for your services to be used in facilitating questionable business practices by the Dos Santos family? And lastly, I want to applaud the Angolans who have come forward to give their voice to this case, because it is not an easy feat. It truly reaffirms the saying that if we find that individually we may not be brave, but collectively we can. And this is what the Angolan people have showed us today. Now, my question can be taken in terms of reflecting on this particular case and how it has changed the landscape in Angola. To the Angolan people, I ask, how have the Luanda Leaks revelations impacted your understanding of corruption within the Angolan government? And what are your hopes for the Angolan government's response to the findings of these allegations and investigation? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Will Fitzgibbon, for your questions. We are going to open the ground for rebuttals. Mr. President, are you ready to respond to Ms. Isabel dos Santos?
Your Honor, thank you very much. At the moment, I won't mention any names, as these are cases still at preliminary levels in our court. Details will come out as investigation is still ongoing. And just like yours, Isabel, and the Dos Santos family, they will be made public. We are facing economic hurdles at the moment because during your father's administration, many funds were looted that were supposed to go to 1, healthcare, 2, education. As I've mentioned, we have introduced comprehensive legal reforms, including anti-corruption laws and regulations that enhance oversight and accountability. We have also empowered independent institutions to monitor and enforce these laws. No one is above the law. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that submission. We are going to go straight to hear from the team from ICIJ. I know that it was partially responded to by Will Fitzgibbon, but would love to hear if you have any more responses to Isabel dos Santos' question.
Thank you, Your Honor. So yes, we can provide additional information based on the question that Isabel dos Santos asked. So like I mentioned earlier, thank you. So like I mentioned earlier, we received over 715,000 documents through the window of the Platform to Protect Whistleblowers in Africa, an organization based in Paris. And they shared them with us. And these documents included confidential emails, contracts, spreadsheets, organizational charts, deeds, public contracts, and lots more in that regard. And because responding to the question regarding if we worked with independent partners, so ICIJ is a consortium of different investigative journalists based across different parts of the world. And on this case, we spent more than 8 months with over 120 journalists from across the world and 36 media organizations in 20 countries to thoroughly review these documents and look at their significance and also establish their credibility. We also traveled to Angola. We interviewed dozens of people, including former Dos Santos employees and financial experts. So these are all the actions that we took to establish the credibility of the documents. And because of the overwhelming information that we gleaned from the review, we cannot just dismiss the significance of receiving over 715,000 documents pointing to allegations of gross misconduct. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Will Fitzgibbon, for that. Originally, Mr. Fitzgibbon also had questions directed to Isabel dos Santos. Can you please go ahead and also respond to the questions directed to you, Ms. Isabel?
Yes, so the representative from ICIJ mentioned he needed explanation regarding the offshore shell companies and some diversion of funds to international entities. So I would want to state emphatically that offshore, I indicated earlier that I am an investor and a businesswoman. So offshore accounts and companies are legitimate tools used by businesses worldwide, not even only in Angola, for various reasons, including tax efficiency, international investment, and legal protections. And I also stated that we adhere strictly to anti-money laundering and know your customer standards, ensuring that all our transactions are legal and transparent. So all our financial activities undergo regular audits and compliance checks by reputable international firms, ensuring that there is no illegal diversion of funds. Also, this is to Mr. Speaker and attorney and other members of the court. Please find a detailed financial records that account for all transactions, demonstrating that funds have not been diverted for illegal purposes. Your Honor, here are the documents. We also use third-party verifications and audits to support the legitimacy and transparency of all of our financial transactions. We have had significant investment in Angola, which some of the Angolan populace had also highlighted, including our telecoms impact in the country. Also, we have created loads of jobs for the Angolan populace, and there are also infrastructure development and overall contributions to the national economy. And profits generated by these offshore activities have been reinvested into the Angolan economy, benefiting local communities and promoting economic growth. We have also had past legal victories where similar allegations were dismissed by international courts or tribunals, reinforcing the legitimacy of me and my businesses. So, for instance, we had the Portuguese court's dismissal of EFASEC sales suspension. In December 2020, a Portuguese court ruled against the suspension of the sale of EFASEC, a Portuguese engineering company in which me held a significant stake. The court's decision indicated that there was insufficient evidence to justify halting the sale, thereby allowing the transaction to proceed. Also, in March 2021, the Portuguese Supreme Court ruled that some of the asset freezes were not justified, leading to the unfreezing of certain assets. This ruling highlighted flaws in the initial process and underscored the lack of concrete evidence to substantiate the claims against me. In 2021, again, a Dutch court dismissed a case against me, citing insufficient evidence of wrongdoing. The ruling reaffirmed my stance that my business activities in the Netherlands were conducted legally and transparently. So, stating all of these facts and all of these other cases and legal victories, I want to state that all these allegations meted against me are unfounded and it has political implications from the current administration in Angola. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel dos Santos. Now we'll hear the response from the representative from McKinsey, Mr. Kevin Snyder.
Okay. So we have been asked by the ICJ rep that we did not do due diligence. And also whether we are aware that our systems or our services or corrupt activities. Now, what it would suggest is that it's able to assess our services. And so we do very good job. We do very, very thorough and very successful work. But I want to ask that, how is it possible if these allegations against Ms. Isabel is substantiated? How is it possible that it took this long and it took her doing all her businesses in Angola and outside, and for her to be, accused of at this point, because it took quite a long time. And so what I want the president and the people of Angola to ask is that, have we not put in enough systems to check corruptions at its beginning stages in our country? Because as far as I'm concerned, it would seem that we are also victims if the allegations are substantiated. Because with a best practice obligation, it is not illegal. Give Miss Isabel the benefit of the doubt that she was a businesswoman. She was an African businesswoman coming from an African nation. And so we thought it wise that, okay, we have dealt with Microsoft. We have made billions for Bill Gates. Why shouldn't we make billions for an African entrepreneur? And that is the perspective, or that is the angle with which we approach this business. And it is evident that we have done clearly a good job. I would plead with the court, or I would plead with the people of Angola that they do not punish us for doing a good job, but rather also come in and partner us, come and work with us, because clearly we know how to run business, we know how to make profit. And if we are working with the people of Angola instead, directly, then Angola would benefit from our services. But if Angola wants to blame us for what has happened, it won't be possible. Or we wouldn't accept that blame, because what is the steps that Angola has put in place to check corruption at its infancy? How did the nepotism escape them? How did the alleged corruptions escape them? And that is what we want to also know, because we feel we have been taken advantage of as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kevin, for your submission. As it appears, we are nearing the end of this discussion and this hearing. And I'm going to invite the people of Angola, if they have anything to say with regards to what Mr. Kevin has said, to say something before we proceed. The people of Angola, the citizens, do you have anyone to step forth and speak to what Kevin has said?
I think for now I don't have anything to add.
All right, that is noted. And Mr. President, do you have anything to also add as the head of state?
Your Honor, what we are sure of as the current administration is that auditing and consulting firms involved with the Dos Santos Empire are subject to criminal prosecution because they are complicit in facilitating illegal activities such as money laundering, embezzlement, and other financial crimes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We are going to hear the closing remarks from Isabel Dos Santos as she solidifies her standing and position. And we are also going to hear from Kevin to also solidify their position as key stakeholders in this case. We're also going to hear from Gabriela, and then we will proceed to have the verdict. Isabel Dos Santos, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. First and foremost, I categorically deny all allegations of corruption, money laundering, mismanagement of funds, diversion of funds, and all that. My business dealings have always been conducted with full transparency and strict adherence to both Angolan and international laws. We have subjected our operations to regular independent audits by prestigious firms. These audits have consistently found no evidence of illegal activities, including money laundering. Furthermore, we comply rigorously with international financial regulations, including the anti-money laundering and know your customer standards, ensuring that all our transactions are transparent and above board. The success of our businesses is not due to political influence, but rather to merit, innovation, and hard work. Our companies operate with independent board members who ensure that decisions are made without undue influence. We have received numerous international awards for business excellence and corporate governance, further validating our commitment to ethical business practices. Our impact on the Angolan economy has been significant and positive. We have created thousands of jobs, contributed to infrastructure development, and adhered to sustainable and responsible business practices. We have also implemented numerous initiatives focused on employee welfare and corporate social responsibilities. These contributions reflect our unwavering commitment to the betterment of our nation, Angola. Regarding the allegations of document forgery, we maintain strict internal controls and verification processes to prevent such actions. We also use third-party verification services for important documents and transactions. We have a track record of legal victories in international courts where allegations of document forgery and other economic crimes have been dismissed, reaffirming our adherence to legal and ethical standards. The current case against me is not driven by a genuine pursuit of justice. It is a politically motivated witch hunt orchestrated by President João Lourenço. Since taking office, President Lourenço has selectively targeted high-profile figures associated with the previous administration, including my family. In contrast, similar allegations against individuals close to the current administration, such as Manuel Vicente and Carlos Feijó, has been quietly dropped or indefinitely stalled. This selective prosecution demonstrates a politically motivated campaign rather than a fair and impartial application of justice. Moreover, the administration's anti-corruption efforts have been inconsistent and lack transparency. Investigations into corruption have been abruptly halted without clear explanation, especially those involving individuals with ties to the current administration. These anti-corruption processes under President Lourenço have often been conducted behind closed doors, with findings not always made public, raising serious questions about the integrity and fairness of these efforts. Angola is currently facing significant economic challenges, including declining oil revenues, inflation, and high unemployment, which most of the Angolan citizens attested to. In this context, it appears that the administration is using high-profile cases like mine to divert public attention from its own failures in addressing these pressing issues. The judicial reforms introduced under President Lourenço have centralized power and undermined judicial independence. International observers and human rights organizations have raised concerns about the fairness and impartiality of these reforms. The use of state-controlled media to propagate the administration's narrative while discrediting opponents further demonstrates that the case against me is politically motivated. In conclusion, I urge you to consider the substantial contributions my businesses have made to the Angolan economy and the rigorous standards we adhere to in our operations. My commitment to Angola's progress is unwavering, and I'll continue to work towards the betterment of our nation. I reiterate my innocence and call for a fair and impartial review of the evidence, free from political interference. Let justice prevail and let the truth be brought to light. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel dos Santos. We will hear from Kevin.
Okay, so we at Mackenzie would like to state that, yes, we did not do a due diligence. We did not do a thorough background investigation into Ms. Dos Santos before engaging her in businesses. But when we do this in the future, because whatever is decided in this case will set the precedence of how businesses like ours, management consultants and multinationals, engage African business people. When we established that we had a wrongdoing, even though we're not directly involved in her business, we're not directly involved in the alleged corruption cases, it will establish a precedent that anytime we are engaged in African businesses, we would be strict, we would do thorough backgrounds. We might end up eliminating people with our client from our client list with just little issues. which would be unfair to the continent because they would not get the best of our services. When Ms. Ilia Pinto was speaking, she stated that Angola needs the best minds, even though it needs to root out corruption, and it still needs the best mind. And we stand by the fact that we are the best mind. We have proven that by the track record of what we have done with Bill Gates, with Microsoft, what we have done with Jeff Bezos, with Amazon. And we also want to do the same in Africa, and it must be equitable. Our services must be equitable. There must be fair, equal access to our services by Africans. That is the only way we think that we can also support the continent to make it rich. So I would urge that the court be cautious with how it gives out judgments, because it will set a precedence in the future. We do not want to disadvantage African business people because the continent will in turn not grow. We also say that we are only consultants. We only give financial advice and financial management tips to our clients. We also want to state finally that we also believe that if these allegations are true, then we are also victims because our services have been taken advantage of. And so, irrespective of what the court decision will be, we will take extra steps and precautions to make sure that the people that we are dealing with are well scrutinized by our teams. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We are going to hear from Gabriela, and then we will have Angelo to make their solid statements before we go into the verdict. And we'll also call back His Excellency to also make his final statement. So over to you, Gabriela.
Actually, do you mean Gabriel Angelo?
There is Gabriela Figueiredo Diaz. And then Angelo Gabriel dos Santos, you'll come next.
All right.
It appears Gabriela is not here, so we will have you, Angelo Gabriel. Come on.
Thank you very much. I want to reiterate that Sonecom is committed to being a responsible and ethical business partner in Angola. We recognize the importance of transparency and accountability and are dedicated to contributing to the country's development. We have listened to the concerns of the various citizens and stakeholders, including the serious allegations surrounding Isabel dos Santos and her business dealings. We understand the concerns and outrage that many Angolans feel regarding the misuse of state assets and the perpetuation of corruption. We want to assure the public that we are taking steps to ensure that our business practices are transparent, ethical, and free from any undue influence or corruption. We will continue to work with the Angolan government and people to build a brighter future for all, one that is based on integrity, accountability, and responsible business practices. We are committed to being a part of the solution and to make a positive impact in Angola. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dos Santos. The team from the ICIJ, do you have a closing statement to make before we proceed?
Yes, we do.
Okay, Douglas Dobie, go ahead.
Just give me a moment. All right. Thank you so much, Your Honor. As we conclude this examination, it is essential for us to reflect on the broader implications of the case against Isabel dos Santos in a continent where corruption is rampant and its impacts disproportionately affect the masses, especially the Angolan people. We must champion the cause of accountability, This case underscores the critical role that the investigative journalism and independent institutions play in exposing corruption and demanding justice. The Dos Santos family's actions are not isolated incidents, but are part of a systematic issue where state resources are siphoned off for personal gain, leaving ordinary citizens to bear the brunt of such greed. The significant evidence gathered, including financial documents and testimonies, support us for the call for criminal prosecution. Isabel Dos Santos' apparent attempt to shield herself and her family from scrutiny through constitutional reforms further underscores the need for a rigorous legal examination. The response from various parties has been mixed. While some international bodies and media organizations have condemned the corruption and called for accountability, others have also been hesitant, possibly due to geopolitical and economic interests. The international community's role, however, is crucial in applying pressure and ensuring that justice prevails. As we move forward, we must ask ourselves, if Isabel Dos Santos' actions were truly above reproach, why would there be such concerted effort to reform constitutional provisions to protect her and her family? The case at hand is not just about one individual's actions, but about a systematic issue that requires a global response. In conclusion, the fight against corruption is not only about addressing individual wrongdoings, but also about challenging the systems that enable such corruption to thrive. And it is good that we have the president of Angola in our midst to ensure that corruptions and systems that enables corruption are challenged. It is imperative that we continue to push for transparency and accountability, ensuring that those who abuse their power face the full force of the law. And therefore, as the ICIJ, it is in our mandate with our cross-cutting three objectives, which the first being that the truth matters, secondly, Africa matters, and that journalism matters as a third objective that we are pushing for this particular project, the Luanda Leaks. Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Douglas Delby, for your strong conclusion. We will proceed to hear from a representative from the citizenry. The citizens, do you have a closing statement? Representatives of the citizens of Angola?
Yes, one moment.
Please go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, as we conclude this case, I stand before you not just as a representative of the Angolan people, but as a voice for every citizen who has been affected by the profound corruption unveiled by the Luanda Leaks. This trial has shed light on a systematic betrayal where those entrusted with the welfare of our nation have instead exploited it for personal gain. International banks, multinational corporations, and consulting firms played a crucial role in this corruption, providing the financial tools, legal cover, and operational infrastructure necessary for the embezzlement of Angolans' wealth. These foreign actors enabled billions of dollars to be drained away, money that should have been invested in our schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Instead, it was diverted into private accounts, luxurious properties, and extravagant lifestyle, leaving the Angolan people to suffer the consequences. Our children struggled in underfunded schools, our healthcare system is a mess, and our infrastructure is crumbling. These are not abstract issues, these are the daily realities faced by millions of Angolans. The complicity of foreign entities in this crisis cannot be ignored or excused. They must be held accountable for their role in undermining our nation's development and prosperity. As we seek justice, it is imperative that the decisions made in this court go beyond punishing the guilty. We must ensure that the stolen funds are reclaimed and used to benefit the healthcare and infrastructure and creating opportunities for economic growth and social development. We must rebuild the trust of the Angolan people in their government and institutions, demonstrating that corruption will no longer be tolerated and that the era of exploiting and impunity is over. Let us remember that this case is not just about individual wrongdoings, but about the future of our nations. We have the opportunity to set a precedent to show that justice can prevail and to pave the way for a brighter, more equitable future for all Angolans. We must seize this moment to reaffirm our commitment to transparency, integrity, and the rule of law. In closing, I implore this court to consider the profound impact of this corruption on the lives of ordinary Angolans. Let your verdict reflect the need for accountability, restitution, and reform. Let it be a testament to our resolve to build a nation where every citizen can thrive and where the wealth of Angolan is used for the benefit of its people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Emilia. I'm going to call His Excellency to also make the closing statement, and then we go for the verdict.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the prosecution seeks to establish accountability for these egregious actions. Isabel dos Santos and her associates must be held criminally liable for their crimes, which have had a devastating effect on Angola's economy and its people. Additionally, we call for the prosecution of the auditing and consulting firms that enabled these crimes through their services. This trial is not just about justice for Angola. It is about sending a clear message to the world that corruption, regardless of where it occurs, will not be tolerated. It is about restoring faith in the rule of law and ensuring that those who exploit their positions of power are held accountable. We ask for your diligent consideration of the evidence and your commitment to justice. I submit, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And at this point, we have reached the end of our hearing, and I am pleased to invite the Attorney General who has been in our midst, Hilda Peter Gross, to come in and make the final verdict before we dismiss this hearing.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hilda Peter Gross, the Attorney General of Angola. I'm appearing before you to affirm the independence and impartiality of our judiciary system. These leaks has actually uncovered significant financial wrongdoings by the parties involved. And our goal is to ensure that justice is delivered through due process, free from any political influence. We are therefore committed to uncovering the truth and holding accountable those who have harmed our nation's economy. In this process, I have worked closely with Gabriela, Chairman of Portugal's Comissão do Macau de Valores Mobiliários, to ensure our approach is thorough and coordinated. So in this complex case and the submissions made today, we are dedicated to upholding the rule of law. The charges against Ms. Isabella, including money laundering, embezzlement, influence peddling, and documentary forging, are backed by evidence. So in collaboration with Gabriela and her team, we have analyzed the intricate financial networks and corporate structures involved, and we are also working with the international partners to trace and recover assets obtained through illegal means. The involvement of global companies in these crimes is a serious concern, and we ask for full cooperation from foreign authorities. I want to assure everyone here that our legal system operates independently and is not influenced by any political interest, as stated previously. We have taken decisive actions, such as freezing assets and filing criminal charges, to show our commitment to justice. With the insights from Gabriela, we ensure that all legal proceedings will be transparent, focusing on finding the truth and restoring public trust in our institutions. Gabriela will also ask questions to key individuals to clarify their roles in this complex corruption network. So I also want to reiterate that seeking justice in this case goes beyond one individual. It represents our broader commitment to accountability and also issues of integrity in Angola. So we are determined to conduct a thorough investigations, ensure fair trials, and also recover assets that belongs to the Angolan people. From all the submissions that you have made today, we are going to ensure that there is going to be a thorough investigation to ensure that there are fair trials and also the recovering of assets that belongs to our people. We are going to do this together with our international partners and also with the support of Gabriela. We will also continue our fight against corruption, working towards a more transparent and just societies. So after careful examination, examining the evidence and testimonies, including from the people of the Angolan people, and also the investigations done by ICIJ, we are confident that our legal processes will review the full extent of the financial wrongdoings and bring those responsible to justice. I want to thank Gabriela, who has also been very crucial in shaping our strategy to ensure that we have a coordinated effort across the borders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney General. However, you have not given us your verdict.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question.
Yes, please, Mr. Attorney General.
I have my verdict, but okay, let me just read it. It's fine.
Okay, we are ready. The House is anxiously waiting.
Okay, so in the course of the Luanda Leaks investigations, we have gathered substantial evidence to support the charges against Isabel dos Santos. This actually includes over 715,000 leaked documents, such as emails, contracts, and financial records, which review a network of more than 400 shell companies across 40 countries. This evidence shows how Isabel used her political connections to acquire significant stakes in various industries, including a 25% stake in Unitel, Angola's largest mobile operator, part ownership of Banco BIC, and 42.5% stake in Europe BIC, a Portuguese bank, and also investment in NOS, a Portuguese telecommunication firm, and Sodiba, an Angolan brewing company. Additional documents detail her involvement in money laundering, embezzlement, influence peddling, and the forgery of documents during her tenure at Sonangol, Angola state-owned oil company. Financial transactions and consulting fees paid to firms such as PwC and Boston Consulting Group further implicates her in a web of corruption. This comprehensive body of evidence forms the basis for our legal actions. And considering this comprehensive body of evidence, the court finds Isabella dos Santos guilty of all charges. This verdict underscores our commitment to justice and the rule of law. The legal proceedings have been fair and transparent with objective to uncovering the truth and service justice. We will continue working diligently to recover assets that rightfully belongs to the Angolan people and ensure accountability for those who have harmed our nation's economic integrity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney General. After the verdict is done, I cannot say anymore, but allow the people to jump out of character now and come back to who you are and celebrate. If you have been, wherever you have been, please jump out of character. We are now back.
Guys.
I thought the
Okay,
age
who
was
wants-
compromised.
Yes, I thought so too.
It is how much you people
definitely a
don't
fun
trust your
exercise.
system.
I've been bribed, guys.
Okay, AG for starters.
Hey, that's
the
on
thing
record.
is,
AG has been bribed on record.
I feel like
The
my
AG
KP was too defensive. I feel like you guys were too defensive about you not being involved in the corruption case, and it was just I kept chuckling.
I still feel like the AG was whoever tried to bribe the AG, you didn't give him enough. That's why he tried to play about, but eventually was like, the bribe wasn't even enough.
I
Let me
mean,
just say
Angela
it.
has a lot of assets, so
It's
what
just
do you
Isabel.
expect?
Yes, but AG didn't give, the international company parties a verdict. And so my assumption
You guys
is
are
that
guilty
because
by
she didn't give us a
association.
verdict, no, there was no verdict.
AG,
The
but I
main
did
verdict
say I
here,
additionally
the
called
main
for
verdict
prosecution of the
here is
auditors and consulting firms. AG,
come again, Mr. President.
I was saying AG, but I did thought I called for the prosecution of the auditing and consulting firms.
Yes, but we had a very good case.
So
And
yes,
so
the
the
AG,
AG
you
couldn't
have some
give
work
us a verdict.
there.
We had a strong case.
You couldn't breathe. All right, guys, welcome back from that. I'm going to hand over to Samantha Katsande to lead us through a brief reflection from how the session went. From me, honestly, I was on my toes. I was on my toes. I wasn't breathing because, hey, everyone had a strong submission. So I knew that the AG would struggle there too. And you see, Isabel dos Santos came as a one-man's army, and she had all of you, like one man's army. So over to you, Katsande.
Thank you, Achola. Indeed, I agree with you. The people were prepared. Like they had facts and evidence backing them up, and it was really tricky to choose whether she was guilty or not. But AG, thank you for giving us heart attack for a few minutes because we're not sure how it was going to end. But anyways, since we've gone beyond our time, I'll just try to make this snappy. Since we are in the month of governance and corruption in Africa, we're going to use this simulation and case study to just guide our reflections today, to get to understand what you guys thought through your preparation when you're going through the research, and what you think should be done in our own countries, or even what could have been done in Angola to make the situation a little bit better, so that the Angolan citizens are not shortchanged at the end of the day. So I have a few questions here, and I would implore you to just let's all participate and make this snappy so that we all close and continue with our weekend. So the first long question is, what were your initial reactions to the Luanda Leaks revelations? How did you feel upon learning about the extent of corruption and exploitation? And what lessons can be learned from the Luanda Leaks about the dangers of unchecked power and corruption. Anyone who's ready to answer that question or who's ready to share their point of view on what they discovered in the research? Or I should just pick. Madam Achola, should I just point some victims? Okay. Deladem, it seems like you wanted to speak, so please, you can start.
Okay, so I think first thing I would like to ask us to take a step back and look at Angola's systems. I think that is where the issue could have been stopped or could have been capped at the beginning of it. Now, if notwithstanding that the president had been there for years and the accused, notwithstanding, the president had been there for years and the accused was the president's daughter. And so she had access to a lot of, funds, contracts, and other things. I think that is where the key problem lies, because we have this type of corruption cases similar across all our countries. And the fact that it was initiated or sort of led by a consortium of international journalists, I think is a problem. What are local institutions doing? How did we, miss this? How did we miss? What happened? Weren't we checking? Were we checking and we were reporting, but the president was, canceling documents or hiding documents? And if that is the case, how do we check presidents who are who are part or embedded in our corruption? And that is the question that I think is plaguing my mind. And I don't know for the rest of my fellows, but for me, that is one of my takeaways, that the investigations were led and started by a consortium of international journalists and not our local journalists and not our systems of accountabilities and checking corruptions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ed. Omobalade, over to you.
In addition to what Judah said, I think another thing that was a bit of a concern for me was also how much international partners, now not just like the international companies, but as well like international, like other countries are very deeply entrenched in the corruption that is going on the continent, in terms of how they just facilitate this type of activities, and then they turn around and issue sanctions or just come and say that, oh, Africa is so corrupt, they need aid, they need that. But at the stage where a lot of their institutions and like their organizations are being used to facilitate this kind of corruptions, nothing is being done. And it just goes to show again that at the end of the day, that Africa will just need to solve its problem on its own without reliance on like external bodies. So I think that was another takeaway for me, aside from how significant and how huge just the sheer size of the corruption of this case was.
Yeah, thank you very much, Omobalade. Angela.
Yes, so I guess just adding on to what Ades has said in terms of having a lot of international influence in our systems and practices, provided they are benefiting from whatever it is that is happening in Africa, they don't really care because they are making their money. And I think one other thing, I was curious to know what the verdict actually was, and I realized that she was jailed to 5 years in prison in, I think, 2022. But she was also seen in 2023 in Dubai on social media. Meanwhile, there was like a notice to Interpol, like from various governments, to help them arrest her. But she was in Dubai with her mom, just lavishing around. So now I just could think of how power plays, because this lady is super influential and she's obviously using her power in the right direction. And she still had, even though some of her assets were frozen, she still had a lot of other assets, especially in Dubai, where she was currently living with the mom. So it's just like there is still a lot of power play and international influence in whatever we're doing, because they said the governor or whoever it is from Dubai never even wanted to oblige to whatever consensus they came to.
Thank you very much, Angela, and thank you for giving us an update on how the case ended. And it's really sad. And I agree with what Omar Balade just shared, that the rich and elites never suffer the consequences of their actions. It's like they always have the right backup when it comes to lawyers and consultants who are always going to find loopholes for them to get away with it. Kevin, over to you.
I think with me, I had two interesting takeaways from this Luanda Leaks. First, a new model of journalism has come of age. Transparency alone cannot drive change. Giant data leaks are of limited utility without effort to interpret and translate the primary findings to the general public. As, for example, with the Panama Papers and Paradise Papers, there was a consortium of organizations that include the ICIJ, the Guardian, and the New York Times, just similarly as to the Luanda Leaks. So, with a number of more than 120 journalists in 20 countries grouped together to work on this case, it maps a vast trove of data and turn it into the revelations we've all been reading about and heard for an era whose journalists are under unprecedented pressure to prove their utility and trustworthiness. The achievement of these media collaborations is a notable bright spot. And the second
It appears
key
Kevin
takeaway,
is breaking.
am I breaking? Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible now. I don't know. Yeah, you're audible.
So the second key takeaway is that corporate confidentiality is dead. If any company is under the impression that client confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements still offer meaningful protection, the Luanda Leaks drives another nail into the coffin of that misperception. Banks, professional service firms, lawyers, and the large companies they serve should review their client acceptance processes in this light. Whenever you'd be uncomfortable if that relationship were made public, it's a link you don't need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Watanja, I saw your hand. Do you want to say something?
I did, but I think Kevin spoke on something that I wanted to say, so it's all right.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go back to Omobolade and Angela. You mentioned international. So my next question is going to be directed to you and the rest of the floor. What role do you think Western enablers and professionals played in facilitating corruption in this case? And what responsibilities do they bear? How can we work towards greater transparency and accountability in financial systems and political structures to prevent similar scandals in the future? So Jude, I think it also applies to you. Like you talked about how, yeah, they got away with it because of our system not working in most African countries. So what do you think? How can we work towards greater transparency and accountability in financial systems and political structures to prevent similar scandals in the future? Anyone with an answer or a thought on that? Yes, Jude?
Okay, so one of the initial things that I discovered in my research was that I was listening to a panel discussion on the issue, and one thing that was said that I agree with is that these consulting firms don't have a strict regulations like our other financial institutions, like our banks, like our insurance services, investment, and other things have very, very strict regulations. They are guided by acts and allies in parliament. There is the central banks that are there to regulate them. But these management consultants don't have that strict regulations. And so that is something that maybe we can look at going forward, that if an international management consultant wants to do business within our jurisdiction, then maybe we should set up bodies to, guide or to regulate what type of dealings that they will do. If we say that they should do due diligence, let us establish what type of due diligence we expect. And it must be legally documented so that we can legally hold them to account that okay, you were supposed to do a background check in their businesses. You didn't do that. Why? Then we have a right to ask those questions, and then we hold them, accountable as well. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just going to
Apply
ask
to international organization. Yes, Omobalade, yes, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. I was going to ask, I think to an extent, some of like the laws we have regarding like what's it called, businesses operating in a particular country, I think they do sort of have like guidance against they do sort of have guidance against like engaging in what's it called, money laundering or stuff like that, or facilitating any sort of illegal activity. But I think to an extent they still almost always find a loophole. So like in the defense that the representative of McKinsey gave during the case simulation was that they were also like a victim of the case. They were just conducting their role as an independent as an independent consulting company, and they just did their job as they were supposed to. But I think the thing is that, again, I've seen anytime there's like an issue with like what's it called, government doing something wrong, I don't know, McKinsey always finds its way to be involved one way or the other. So I think one of the things is that it's just capitalism. They don't care. They don't have you can't hold corporations to a moral standard to a greater extent. It just falls on like the government putting more checks in terms of government officials not carrying out malpractice. You can't ask a global organization to be the one to be checking whether your people are what's it called, are carrying away money. But at the end of the day, they also have sort of like a duty of care to the people to the places that they operate in. So I think it's sort of like a dicey conversation where you have to ask that, to what extent can you hold these corporations accountable for something that your officials that you elected are doing? So it's just like me thinking, it's more of a question than an answer to your question. Sorry, Samantha.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Omobalade. So we are 22 minutes after our closing time, so we'll continue the conversation on the group. I had questions for everyone. I think Kevin, there was also our submission, but thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for coming prepared, well prepared. It was a very good simulation, and I gained a little bit more from what I had last year when we did it ourselves. But thank you everyone for your preparation, for dedicating your time to the research, and also for being here until almost 3 p.m. GMT. It shows your commitment to this, and we hope we'll continue with you successfully, and we'll have great more sessions ahead of us. But enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll post the questions into the group, and we'll continue the conversation around this simulation. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. And please have a great weekend. Bye-bye.